All right. Here we go, I think. Good morning. Welcome. Happy Saturday. Let me shuffle a few more things. All right. Yes, there we go. Welcome. We're a few minutes early, but I was ready to go, so I figured let's get started. For anyone that's new, first of all, thanks for checking it out. My name is Tim. I go by Foamy Guy on GitHub and Discord, and I usually stream around this time each week, Saturday mornings around 10 a.m. Central Time, usually working on some stuff related to CircuitPython. You, in fact, are new and don't know what CircuitPython is, you can learn more at the main website for the project here, circuitpython.org. It is basically a version of Python that runs on tiny computers called microcontrollers. If you choose to use CircuitPython with these devices, the way that it typically works is you plug it into your computer, it shows up like a thumb drive, you edit a Python code file on that thumb drive, and when you save it, the microcontroller, the computer that's in these little chips, will actually execute that Python code for you. These microcontroller devices, there are a lot of them. You can see there's 581 that support CircuitPython. CircuitPython is just one of the things you can do with them. You can program them in other ways, but this is what we work on here on this stream. If you, like I said, if you want to learn more, circuitpython.org, come join us on Discord, search for CircuitPython online, that sort of stuff. As always, huge thanks to Adafruit. So CircuitPython is a open source project. Anyone is allowed to use CircuitPython on their devices. Anyone is allowed to, port CircuitPython to your device. Like if you're releasing a device, even if you're a third party, you can add support to CircuitPython for it for free. You don't need to pay anyone to do that, which is pretty cool. And Adafruit is the company, hardware and software company based out of New York, that makes it possible by paying the people who work on CircuitPython, including myself. So if you want to support them and people like me who work on CircuitPython, one of the easiest ways to do it is purchase hardware from them, which you can do at adafruit.com. They have lots of the microcontroller devices. In fact, the device I am using today, I'll pull up a couple of them. In fact, the first one is the new Sparkle Motion Mini. This will be the first thing I use today, which is an Adafruit designed microcontroller that is designed for interacting with LEDs. And then the other one that I'm using today is the USB Feather. That's probably not the proper name. This one here, Feather with USB Type A host. So it has a USB host port, and it's a RP2040 Feather. This is another Adafruit designed device. So these are just two of the things you can get from them. You can also get all sorts of other microcontrollers and all sorts of widgets and doodads to plug into your microcontroller to make interesting projects and do fun things. Good morning, C. Grover. Nice to see you this morning, my friend. Let's go to the web editor, which is where I'm going to start today. Web editor, for anyone who doesn't know, one of the ways that you can interact with CircuitPython devices is, let's see, how do we want to do this? Let me switch out. I never turned on the camera. Let's go one step at a time. Let's get the camera, and then I'll switch to the other device, because what I have plugged in now is the USB one, and then we'll go from there. A refresh, okay. Oh, we're not really in frame there, okay. This here. That's pretty good. So this is the USB one. We'll get into this later. We're starting here. Sparkle Motion Mini. Plugged in. And now this one, for anyone that is new or doesn't know about this device, this one is based on the ESP32, just ESP32 base, no S2, no S3, just the ESP32 by itself. And what that means for CircuitPython is ESP32 does not have native USB, which means it can't do the storage drive stuff like normal CircuitPython devices do, like I was describing how it shows up like a thumb drive. That's kind of the most typical way. The ESP32 devices don't have that, but there are a number of ways you can still interact with the device. One of them is code.circ. I'm surprised this is not here, CircuitPython.org. Which is kind of like a web-based IDE for interacting with your device, and this does support the ESP32 devices in two different ways, Wi-Fi or USB. However, it is Chrome only. This is Firefox, so let me get a Chrome window in which we can actually do something here. That's why, I guess that's probably why it wasn't in the thing there. Okay. So we have a couple of options here, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, USB. I am going to pick USB right now, connect, and that's plugged in. I need to actually probably close this, otherwise, ooh, I don't know. Motion, no device. Yeah, let's close that, because that's probably connected to that port. Try connecting here, and now maybe open files, and this will show us the files on the device, and I could open boot out and we can see that this is the Sparkle Motion device here. And I could open code and we could see what it was complaining about, the don't have this thing connected. Which is fine because there's nothing else connected, so that's pretty much what it should be doing right now. And what we want to do is I'm trying to not actually look at code.circuitpython.org, but I'm trying to look at the kind of like next version of code.circuitpython.org. Let me see here. Which one of these is actually what we want? I think it's, maybe could have kept that. There's nothing super duper useful or important in there. I mean, it's useful, but it's not important. I already used it. Okay. With the stage set, now we can go to CircuitPython web editor. Web editor? There it is. And this is now outgoing commits. I don't know. We definitely do not want to do that. I don't know why it's showing that I have commits on that branch. In fact, I'm just going to right now go back to main. Just take the version from main for now. Is changes from remote. In this case, remote is main, so I'm going to take the right. And I'm just going to delete this local branch beta on my instance. And we'll check it back out again. You want a clean copy of it. Yeah, because I definitely should not just have commits ready to push to that. That makes no sense. Okay, but that is aside from the real point, which is GHPR list. We want to check some of the PRs, which I have loaded up here. I'm going to probably start with this one because it's the one I'm the most familiar with because I created it, which is basically about downloading files over the USB REPL backend, which is what this mini Sparkle Motion is using because of the USB storage stuff I was talking about before. So that is 291 GHPR checkout 291, which is going to get us on this branch. And then to run it, I don't remember, npm run dev maybe, or dev, I don't remember. Run dev, I was right, npm run dev, okay. Install maybe, I don't know if we'll need that one. We could try it. I don't think it hurts to run it again. I know that much about JavaScript dev, TBH though. Npm run dev. 5173 now is running a local instance of code.circuitpython.org basically. So I'm going to disconnect this. Just going to open a new thing here, and I'm just going to go localhost 513, or was it 37? Nope, that's right. Okay, so now we can go USB, connect, again, do all the same stuff. But now this is local. I'm against my local server, not code.circuitpython.org, the live one. And what we are trying to test is downloading files from here. So we like click lib. Well, let's start with a file. So CodePy download. Should download just the one file, CodePy. Maybe we should have this open. Oh, we failed. Create object. Oh, you know what? Hit the download button. I need to do this thing again, probably. What did I have to do? I found npm update and then install. I think we need to do that. Oh, I'm back to here again. Is this how I got to here? Is this on this is on data. But why does it show outgoing commits for me? That makes no sense. Let's do this. Then install after that. I don't know if that's necessary. And then that. Let's try this again. Just gonna refresh that. Connect. CodePy download. Yeah, now we have no red here, which is good. CodePy, it downloaded. Go and open it. Maybe, not exactly. That's on my system, really. It's not a problem with this thing, though. Yeah. There's CodePy downloaded. That worked fine. So the next thing we want to test is a folder. So lib. What is that one? That one. Move, maybe? This one I assume will take longer for sure, because it has to like zip all this stuff up. And ultimately all this stuff is traveling over, you know, like the REPL basically, essentially. We have this, there's no red yet, so presumably it's just doing its thing. I don't remember exactly how many libs I have, probably like half a dozen or so if I recall correctly, but we'll see. On one of them, there's like a per file that might be upload files. Or There it goes. So, I mean, definitely took it a minute, but like, and I kind of expect that. 66K that was, which is not a huge amount of file size, but it is made up of a bunch of different folders and stuff. So this is unzipped, and inside of it, it has all these things, and it would have had to like, the JavaScript code would have had to, like running in the front end on the browser would have had to copy all this stuff through the REPL, like, you know, in a byte stream, essentially, and then kind of compile it into a zip, which we could then download from the front end. So, not the fastest. Not going to be the fastest thing in the world, because it's kind of like doing a lot of stuff the front end browser was never really necessarily meant to do explicitly. Move. It is move. Interesting. Okay. So then the last one, I think that Melissa said it is intended to work actually if you no files subfolder. Single file? Folder, multiple files. Oh, multiple files I didn't even think of. CodePy and boot out, download. Actually, that's interesting, because I would not necessarily expect that to work, because it doesn't put them here. I consider that's like a bonus if that works. That's pretty sweet, actually. Yeah, totally. Oh, but there are 0 bytes. Why is the full zip 112 bytes? I mean, it's not enough, I guess, so. Okay. Multiple files does not seem, like it downloads a file, but they don't have content. There were 0 size for me. The lib one worked though, right? Yeah, all of these things are fine. These have actual sizes: 1.3K, 2.8, 3.5. Multiple files we can mention, but again, like I don't know, I hadn't even considered that before, and I consider it kind of a bonus, because like my queue, as far as the UI communication is concerned, is like when I'm clicking on these, it's putting the thing here, right? And so when I'm clicking 2, it's taking it away, and it's it looked like it grayed out. Yeah, it grayed out the open button as well. So like, in my mind, that's a cue that those are not necessarily intended to work. It seems like maybe they are and they don't, but I do still kind of see it as a bonus. So if they don't work, I'm not that worried about that, really. Root folder with no files selected. So if you just go open, this will be another one that takes a while. But if I'm understanding right, if we just click that, that's going to try to download everything for the whole device, which again will take a minute. No exceptions though, so that should be going. Oops. I'm not sure if I understand the difference between these two exactly. Like if that's trying to say if you had a file and a subfolder selected both. Is another thing where it's kind of like multi-select, which I wouldn't have thought would work necessarily. Nice to have at some point might be feedback during this, like if it could print what file it's working on or something. That way you can at least like see that it's working on different stuff all the time. Yeah, so there's our download, and you can see we got, that's like only 2K more than the in the lib folder, so it took basically the same amount of time. It's a tiny bit more, but almost all of my current drive spaces libraries. And yeah, those look like they have sizes. They look correct. Let's open one real fast. CircuitPy file. Looks good. Lib. That stuff looks good. Okay. So, single file, single folder, and entire drive are all working, which were the original 3 that I kind of thought were supported. So I am inclined to say it's pretty much an approve from me. I will say that I won't merge it yet, and if Melissa wants to handle the multi stuff as well before merging, we can do that. But like, as far as I'm concerned, this is good, and we could do that stuff in the next PR or whatever. Look what all actually happened. So it's like, I know some of it goes through this REPL file transfer. The log does have busy. Contents to zip, yeah, so you could see here, zipping it up. Blob is basically just the binary from the file, I think. Name file helper for objects in file. Yeah, so I mean, we have the name as we're going through. It'd be nice to add that eventually. Yeah. So REPL JSON updates as a separate library, I think. Okay, And the other one is busy while something. Let's see. Busy while user selects port and handle canceling. This is 220. 220 says what? Currently, when a user tries to connect to a board via web serial, the same dialog box, select serial device, connect serial device, remains on the screen after they click connect and selects the COM port. That's confusing because they aren't sure if connection is in progress or has failed. The user can keep clicking the same series of prompts with no feedback. I think it'd be helpful to let the user know the editor's trying to connect. Okay, so I think this is talking about, let me go back to main, or checkout. I'm gonna go change this from remote, which is main, and I'm gonna delete my local beta again so that I don't have random commits waiting to be pushed. I still am unsure. I don't get what's going on with that still, but I don't want it just chilling there. So on main, it should just, I don't know if I probably don't actually need to do that, but just in case. So connect, and then I choose the device, and then I click connect. I think, yeah, this time right there, where there's like nothing showing, and like I could just keep, like I clicked it again and it popped up the thing again. I think that's the window of time this is talking about. So then on this branch, which is now your WS busy, but we could also just, whoops, wrong place. We could also hopefully just go, whoops. One. Oh, unhappy. Probably I need to do that npm update thing again, I would guess, but let's do it after we do this. GHPR list, GHPR 292, PR check out 292. Okay. And then npm update. That's kind of fun. npm install. Again, I don't know. Anyone JavaScript dev in the chats, let me know if that's not necessary or whatever. And then we can run it again. This one. Oh, nope, we still get this stuff. Darken. Darken is deprecated. Okay, yeah, I guess we're just using a deprecated thing. Wait, it would be nice if like 87 base SAS. A lot of stuff actually. Imports also. Okay. Like we got some SAS stuff to bring up to date. Anyway, that's unrelated to what we're looking at right now, which is back to here. And let me refresh this. Go connect. Okay, yeah, so we have spinning Blinka. We do this, we do connect, we still have spinning Blinka. I can't click this anymore. Then we get to there. Yeah, good to me. It used to just be request port. Now it is try request port, catch console log, return false. Well, I think that's the cancel, maybe. There was a cancel thing also, right? Let's disconnect, refresh, connect. I think cancel. So maybe on main that might be messed up. You know what? Instead of main, actually, we could use the live site. Let me disconnect though. Oh, we are not connected. Okay. Oh, cancel. Cancel. Wait, what did it say about canceling? Currently, when a user tries to connect, the same dialog remains on the screen after they connect. That's confusing because they aren't sure if it's in progress or failed. You could keep clicking with no feedback. Did I just make up the canceling? Does this just not say anything about canceling? Canceling is over here. Handle canceling properly. Okay. The PR does deal with canceling, but not the issue. That would be probably this, I guess. When you cancel, maybe it raises an exception, I suppose. And then here it's going to do show busy in addition to its thing now. This one I'll merge because I feel it's just good to go and there's really no more to it. I'll leave the other one in case if Melissa did want to work on the actual multi-select stuff, but okay, next. Drink a coffee. So next up I have this very large generic PS3 controller, which I picked up from Micro Center. I'm pretty sure the price was around this. Like in my head, I don't remember the exact price, but somewhere between $10 and $15, which this is. So maybe it was this one. It's not the exact same as this, right? Because this, at least in this picture, it has the actual colored. I'm surprised that they would get away with if they actually did for some amount of time. Maybe that's why mine doesn't have that, because really I suspect they're not meant to be doing that. But it's this like generic cheap USB controller that is PS3 compatible, supposedly. I did find on eBay the exact one, or I think I found on Walmart and eBay the exact one. But again, Micro Center is where I found it. I believe this was probably the price, so my guess would be this is basically the same thing. It's just the picture is out of date or whatever. Yeah, there's the actual, okay, I did pull up a bigger picture of it. This is basically the exact one I have with these things on the buttons, no color. Everything else looks the same. I think the packaging was even the same, honestly, although it was a couple of weeks back when I bought it, so I'm not sure. And I would like to use it on CircuitPython. In order to do that, you need to plug it into a USB host thing. And like I mentioned back towards the beginning of the show, we luckily have this Feather USB host, which has got this female USB port right here for you to plug in other stuff, like this controller, for instance, is what's plugged in right now. It's got this USB-C, which will plug into the computer. And then it's got all the rest of the stuff that a Feather normally has, which includes the Feather pinout, which means it can use Feather wings, which means it can attach to this Feather wing TFT 3.5-inch Feather wing, even though this is upside down. That's what this is down here. And so then we can get USB input. We have a display. We have an RP2040. We can kind of do with it whatever we want. And the first thing I want to do with it is like get the data from it and be able to use it as kind of a generic game controller. I'm actually gonna turn it around, I think. Okay. So I'm not really set up to show you both the microcontroller screen and the controller. But ultimately you'll see when I press buttons on the controller. I'll tell you when I press buttons on the controller. The code that I have running right now actually gets us most of the way there. Thanks to Past Tim. Appreciate you, my friend. In this case, it's setting up the display, which we don't actually care about for the USB stuff, but I wanted to make sure they would both work together. This is the actual USB stuff here. So we go, while device is none, we want to loop through all the devices that we can find plugged in. So usb.core.find, find all true. In our case, we have one port. We're only going to have one device. You know, it's only going to be 1 or 0. So this is basically going to either loop forever if nothing is plugged in, or it's going to find the only thing that's plugged in. It's going to set device to it, which is going to break it out of this. It's going to set configuration, which you have to do for it to work. I don't really know all the way exactly what that means. USB HID is not a thing that I know too much about, but I know it doesn't work if you don't have this code. We can print out some stuff that we get from the device, like VID, PID, and some other stuff, serial and stuff. This thing I'm less sure about. I took this out of the example. We do probably need to do it, but I don't know, and I'm just going to leave it there for now. This is just allocating 8 bytes into an array that we will ultimately fill with data that we read from the controller. This is a function which can print an array of 8 bytes in a way that's pretty to look at. In fact, if I go to the camera, you can see these down here are the 8 bytes that get printed by this print function. Idle state, previous state, those both start on none, while true. Try to read from the device, and one of a few things is going to happen. Either we're going to get a timeout because the device is not sending anything, i.e. no buttons are pressed. That's just going to continue, which means we loop back around and do it again. So we try to read. If there's nothing to read, we just continue. If we did read something, it's going to get, the size of it will get returned to here, and the actual content will get put into buff. So what we will do is we'll say if the idle state is still none, so if this is the first time through, the first iteration, set the idle state to a copy of the buffer, print the idle state, which is exactly what printed on the screen right here. If the idle state is not equal to the current state, that's what's in buffer, and if the current state is not equal to the previous state, then print the current state, which we haven't done yet, but I'll do right now. Maybe I can sneak this in. Oops, I accidentally pressed a button. Okay. You could maybe see me press the shoulder button there. And as I press the button, we get a new print statement because we no longer were idle. We also changed from the prior state for like a debouncing effect. So we printed that out. And then, of course, so that our debouncing actually works, we update the previous state to the current state. So we always refer back to the one we read last time. And with that, we are able to basically just go through, press all the different buttons on the remote. So I just pressed all of the D-pads. So there's down right there. And we can see down, it says 004. If I press left, it says 006. If I press up, it says 000. And if I press right, it says 002. So we have 0, 2, 4, and 6 in a certain order. Those represent the D-pad buttons. If I press the X button, which is the bottom on the right side, we get 4, 0, 15. Although 15, if we look all the way back up here, idle state is actually 0, 0, 15. So the 15 in the third position is actually just idle. The 4 here is what's important. So I pressed X, we got 4. If I press circle, we got 2. If I press the top one, triangle, we got 1. And if I press square, the left one, then we have 8. So 1, 2, 4, and 8. Powers of 2. If I press the shoulders, so like right shoulder, we have 32 in the first digit. If I press the left shoulder, we have 16. If I press the lower left shoulder, we have 64. The lower right shoulder, 128. Start, we have 02. Select, we have 01. And then this controller actually has joysticks, which is what these 128s here do. So if I take the left joystick and move it to the left, we can see that that 128 that was in this column changed to a 0. If I move it to the right, that 128 changes to a 255. So that column right there represents the horizontal state, the left and rightness of the left joystick. If I go up, that next byte over, that one went to 0. If I go down, it's going to go to 255. Right joystick is the exact same thing with the next 2 bytes. So if I go right, then one of those goes up to 255. If I go left, it goes down to 0. If I go up, then that last one there goes to 0. And if I go down, it goes to 255. And those are analog. I just jammed them all the way. But you can actually get some in-betweens there as well. It basically ranges. So 128 is the home position, and then it moves, towards either 0 or 125 from there. Okay, great. So we have all the data coming out of the controller, and I think at some point I would like to make a playground and or maybe a short video about how to do this, because I didn't actually know how to do this. I went and dug around in the CircuitPython core. There's actually a folder with examples, which had the USB example, which was effectively pretty much this. I tweaked it a little bit because it was meant for a keyboard. It did some other stuff. It wasn't showing all the bytes that we actually ended up needing. So I tweaked it a little bit, but it was basically just one of the examples from the core. I think it would be nice if we had a go-to place that was like, hey, do you have a random USB controller? Would you like to use it on CircuitPython with a USB host thing? Here's how you map the, the data coming out of it, basically. Because my presumption is if you go buy a different $12 generic controller, you'll probably get ultimately the same data, but likely in a different way, right? It's different buttons, might be different numbers, whatever. So I think it'd be nice to have a resource to point people towards that's like, here's how you do this if you have a random device and you want to map it and use it for CircuitPython stuff. So I think that'll be cool. Eventually, I think we'll make a playground or a video about that, or perhaps both, a playground with a short video. For now, the first thing I want to do with it, though, actually is what I talked about. Maybe was that last week or the week before. We were working on game control stuff, and I think I would like to try to add support to game control for this game controller, fittingly enough. So for anybody that doesn't know, game control, it's a library that allows you to, it basically abstracts the controller so that if you want to make a game on CircuitPython, you can use the game control library and not worry about the specific hardware. So you don't care if the up button is a digital I/O pin or a keypad or, a joystick. You don't need to worry about how to read from it. The library takes care of that, and it just tells you, hey, user press the up button. You're ready to do whatever you want to do when they press the up button. It should be in this list somewhere. Game controls, there it is. Yeah, and so we released this a week or two ago. I think I showed like cookie cuttering and doing the work to get that prepared and released and put in the community bundle. Two weeks ago. And at that time, I talked about using this controller, which I think is what I would like to do today. However, I also need to run to the restroom. So BRB, then we'll do that. Okay. Oops. So one thing that I think I may not do is, yeah, I think I'm going to do it like the Feather Joy Wing. So the Feather Joy Wing exists and you can use it, but it's not imported here in init. And I would like to keep it that way because it has this dependency on the Featherwing library. And I don't want that to be a general dependency for anyone using the library. That should only be if you're using the Featherwing. So the ultimate difference becomes you have to change the import slightly. You can't just use the generic import like you can if you are one of these devices. But the upside is that that library is only required for code that's actually importing that thing. And I think I would like this to be the same because I don't think USB core, I don't know if it's on anything besides the RP2040. And even if it is, I don't know if it works. And even if it does, I'm not going to test it right now. So for now, I would like it to just be, it's only going to try to import USB core stuff if you actually are trying to use this. So I'm going to call this, I think, now, one thing we do have to decide is how specific I want to target this exact controller versus controllers generally. I would ultimately like it to be like able to work on other controllers too. I mean, this can always come down the road. Very useful. A hex representation of the 8-byte payload could help. Oh, that's true. Yeah, hex would be nice as well. Yeah, totally. We could do hex in there, or you could break out the bits if you needed to. It does actually, it sends more data as well. I had it set on 16 as well, and I saw that it sends a bunch of extra columns of mostly either 255 or 0. Like it's almost sending binary bits of the same thing or something, but the first 8 bytes contain everything that I need ultimately. For now, let's just say HID controller. Or USB HID controller, USB HID controller. Let's do that. It's gonna extend just like this one does. Means it needs to import USB. Should we go USB HID or should we just go all shouty? I mean, they're both like acronyms that are typically uppercase, I think. It's controller instead of controls. I guess that's how all of them are, though. I definitely don't want controller controls. That would be wonky. I think let's just do that. USB HID controls. Just split this so I can kind of reference how the code needs to work. In itself, we don't really need wing. We do need the USB stuff, though. I don't actually need that one anymore. The only thing we actually imported. So when that finds it, it will set the configuration device, and then I feel we should probably do self.device. so that now we have a reference to it. Make a pressed dictionary. We'll have to assign ABXY. I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll reference, I'll go look at PS controllers and Xbox controllers to figure out what's what. We do have a start button, so we can say start here as well. We actually have the shoulder buttons as well, which this would actually be the first one of these that has shoulder buttons. So I'm not going to add them just right now, but that would be something that ultimately this library could support as shoulder press buttons as well. I don't know if we'll ever have a handheld device with them, but let's just say, you know, a little fairy maybe suggested that there could be a controller that might have shoulder buttons in the future of some people. I think, yeah, let's start with that for now, and then we can see this. Update dictionary. So that just needs to actually read the stuff. Nope, don't want to buy any viewers. That's funny. Right before my wife left, she told me, you joked about people like you. I think she just plonged me too. It's like the universe knows. Why is the ban button always in a new place? No, it's I gotta click the name, right? And then ban? Is that right? Ban. Thank you. Okay, go ahead. Appreciate it. No, this is this thing. Okay, back to here. We need def update dictionary, which I just called dict. And that's basically going to go through and update everything based on the current values. So we need to read the current values, but that's like, actually, you know what? I need to see some more stuff. We need to see some more stuff. Let me save this. Let's go back to here, though. Let me change this. So right now, one of the things I've noticed is that we are just printing these values out. So if I press some buttons right now, it's printing values. And the thing is, when it prints, this is like the serial console. When it prints, I think it's actually just updating the entire display. This display is 480 by 320, and the vast majority of it has nothing on it, which means we are spending a lot of time updating pixels that are not actually really doing anything. And even if that's optimized out, which maybe it is, and I'm not sure, we're shifting all this stuff up, which is also taking time, and we don't really need to be doing it. I am going to take this opportunity right now to go and make this into a display IO thing real quick. So we have display IO. That should be good. Let's just go. This will, and so as a result of this, what I was getting at is like, if I try to spam one of the buttons faster, like if I try to press this button really fast over and over again, we only get like one every couple of presses. And that's because when the update is happening, we're blocked and we're not reading the buttons on the controller. So if we can not be scrolling the entire history, we're going to be able to get buttons faster, I'm pretty sure. Main group equals a group. Output label equals a bitmap label, which we will need to import from display text bitmap label import label. Maybe don't have that on this device. I do. I don't know why it's like that. Whatever. Here, where do we go? Label. label, terminal io.font. Text is just going to be blank for now. Output label dot anchor point, anchor center. No, that's not even a real thing. Thank you though. Anchor X, that is also not a real thing. Anchor point, yes, let's do real things. Anchor point. I like top left. Anchored position. I don't really need it centered. Let's just go like 10-10. Let's just get it kind of there, sort of. Add it to the main group. And display group main group. Now we're not showing the serial anymore. Oh, never just set the text though. Now we're not showing the serial anymore. We're showing our label. So what we can do is change print array is here to not output to this, but instead let's see, how do we want to do it? I think, can you, okay, I'm gonna do so like this. Let me say output label dot text equals space dot join array. I think that should work. Join expects a list of string or bytes consistent with self object. I don't know what that means. Apparently it doesn't like that. I think then we should turn it to a list, I guess, but then we're like kind of like adding steps. Creating variables. The truth is though, we're gonna be creating a bunch of lists anyway, or I mean strings anyway. Okay. All right, new plan. Let's say out string, empty string. Out string plus equals, I will do hex. Plus space. Well, we could do an F string maybe for that. I don't know if that actually helps it at all, but it feels like it's making less strings. Actually, we just need the space there. Okay, and then output label X out string. Let's reset. So that disconnect is from a while ago. You're in safe mode now. Okay, maybe let's not do hex to start with. Maybe it just doesn't like that. I can never remember. Do I need to unplug, replug, or can reset button get me back out of safe mode? This one right back to safe mode. Hard fault memory access. If we just go back to this, do we still have that, or? Okay. So is creating the string this way cause the hard fault, or does setting it to the label cause the hard fault? Setting it to the label causes the hard fault. Does printing it work? Printing it works. And I can go much faster now, and we actually get multiple button, like we actually get one per, because it's not drawing the display. So that's all fine. But then once we set the text on the label, hard fault, which is very odd. I wonder if this should be wrapped like this, just to be like extra turning into an int. I think it's already an int, but I don't really know. I don't use array.array that much. Try that. Oh, hard fault. Okay. Where do we want to go here? Make this into a reproducer that doesn't involve USB and all this other stuff. Or like try to see if it is not involving all the other stuff. What if we just set this to like a hard-coded thing? Does it still crash, or? Okay, I did not do that correctly. So what if we do it correctly? Yeah. So it put it on the string, fine. It put it on the screen, fine. It worked. Okay. Let's take a brief detour and see if this is a thing that exists more widely. Because if so, we should report it and maybe it can get fixed. Then we can come back to how do we output that. So different base device, ESP32S3, but we have a built-in display. So we can kind of like remove some variables, change some variables. Not the most scientific of testing, but oh, shoot. All right, well, hopefully we did that in time. One quick thing that we could try would be label instead of bitmap label. I cannot fathom that that would make a difference, but it's like a thing to try. I think, what did I have there? I think I had... I kind of wish I had that, but we'll just do this. Okay. Let's just do one. Outstring plus equals f string buff 0 space print out outstring label text equals outstring. We never showed it either or added it. What? What? Doesn't have a while true, I don't know. Matter. Okay, no, that ran fine and put an 8 on the screen. So that should get all of them on the screen. We do. Small and upside down, but they're there. Okay, back to this device. Alright, do we... What happens if we just do one? Have that problem too, or... That works. And changes when I press the non-D-pad buttons. Is the first digit changes. And then it stays when I let go because there's no code that's like watching for the idle state. Uh, uh, I don't know. And if we do this manually, does it work or? Start and select are those two. Oh, also this button, I guess. Center button, which also I think changes the modes or something. So I'm gonna put it back how it was. So 2 is working. Let's just do them, I guess. Let's try 4. Oh, hard fault. I mean, are we almost out of memory or anything? Maybe we were just running out of memory? I mean, should get an out of memory error, I would think. We're getting a memory access instruction error. Alright, we're in save mode. No, we have plenty of memory free, and those 3 showed up fine. They're all changing fine. That one's changing fine. So, I mean, specifically the 3rd one, which I think might be, well, 0, 1, 2, 3. The one with index 3, which is the first of the 128s. I mean, we just do it like this. Does that crash? Obviously, it doesn't change. But R3 crashes. What if we do 3 instead of 0? Works. So that's like one of the joysticks. I don't know. One thing is for sure is that's not gonna. Okay, I did say this earlier, so let's do it. I just cannot even fathom what could be. Now it's working. Does it really just crash with bitmap label and not label? I guess that would be kind of fun to look into, I suppose. No, it just works with both now. So can we keep going then if it works with both now? close, but no cigar. Close but off by one. That's a better thing to say. Huh? Good map label? What? It? Ray. I don't know what's going on. Something very, 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 very bizarre is going on. Because this is complaining about number of arguments. I mean, first of all, this is print array idle state. So 125, this is calling print array. 108, this is setting text equal to a string. Start of string, end of string. String contains all these things. That ran. Now we can see up and down on the left joystick. Second. All right. We can see left and right on the right joystick. Oh, now it crashed. Memory instruction. I can't see the code anymore because this like tried to refresh while it was gone or whatever. And so now that I came back up, it has this error, which is what we saw before. All right, it crashed. Okay. We can crash it reliably, seemingly. Kind of zone a little bit, thinking about other ways to try to test this. I'm not talking about them, so very fun to watch, I'm sure. I mean, surely Okay, so it just ran and that works. All right. Let's just stick with... Oh. It ran and worked for a second, but then... After I, like, moved the joystick some, it crashed. I won't press anything for a minute. Oops. Yeah, so just not pressing anything, it's fine. It can run. Timeout, everything's good, but I'm going to press a button. Okay. So all of those buttons are fine. Press these buttons. Well, those buttons are fine. Start select. Oh. Okay, that I think was just auto reload from a file write. Joystick, left joystick, up, down, left, right. Right joystick, up, down, left, right. So far, that has not crashed again. Is basically doing what I wanted. We're up to 6. So let's see if we can make it up to the last one. Although we don't really need... I think the last one doesn't have data that's that important to me, but... see if we can make it. Seemingly, yes. Okay. As of right this second right now, it's not crashing, so I'm going to leave it alone like that. Hope for the best. But at some point, I guess I'll try to hopefully make a reproducer that we can make an issue out of, because I mean, obviously something is very broken in the core, it seems to me. I mean, or in bitmap label, but I mean, if it should be an exception. Whatever it is, it should either be an exception that can be caught, or it should like work or something. But it definitely shouldn't hard fault memory. So I think there's definitely something to be fixed in the core, but we need to be able to report it. And there's like a lot going on here to get to the point where it crashes, which makes it tough. But for this second right now, it's not crashing, and I think I would like to change the logic here to do something different. Let's say... well, okay, first let me delete this and update it, because I'm pretty sure there are... I'm pretty sure that display text has logic now that will not set the thing if it's the same as it was before. Why does that say lib not main? Is a directory. Hi. I don't know if this was here before. Or if it just got put here now. I don't really recognize it. Okay. Made it out of that one without getting any deeper. Oh, it crashed. Crashed. I pressed the button a couple of times and it crashed. That makes it tougher. Really to do much of anything. I think. Okay, hold on. What do we have here? We have 924. Trying to think what I want to do. I want to keep trying to work on this without, because like getting it onto the screen was like gonna help do the game controller stuff ultimately. And I could do the game controller stuff anyway by just printing. I don't need it on the screen explicitly, I guess. But I also think like ultimately I'm trying to like interact with stuff on the display with the remote control, the game controller, which is what this is trying to do in essence. Trying to put it in a label, which is like ultimately not my aim. I want to do more interesting stuff than that, but is the problem with label, or is the problem more deeply with like USB host while display stuff? I guess maybe we could at least try to get another data point. Yeah. Not update the label, I guess. I can't save anymore. Or it's safe mode. Oh, but I think it's also broken now too. Well, not broken, but like I think I'm gonna have to erase the storage probably. Okay. Well, at least it doesn't crash on the first run right when it starts. Okay, that did get commented out. Okay. Yeah, so now when I edit this, it does this. And it's just going to do that forever. Anything, if I try to change any of these files, it will just say the same thing. So it's like, I think what happened is something about the storage is messed up. So I took a backup just a minute ago. I'm going to go double check the backup. Have all our files here. And so we now, this one. That will tidy up the file system, get it to where I can save files so we can go back to doing other things. I left one of these open. Okay. So this is creating the label, putting it on the display, but not updating it. All right, we don't have any libraries anymore. I think I'm gonna change this actually to just only check against the previous state, so that we will print the idle state when it happens. Okay, hold on, because, well, first of all, this is just reloading over and over again, so that's one thing, but that I think is auto reload, which I it's a safe mode. So, but why was that updating? That shouldn't even have been updating. Oh, it's back to updating. Instant hard crash. Okay. Okay. Obviously, this does not like all of this stuff together, seemingly. Running out of patience for like trying to do stuff with it, TBH, but we'll see how much longer I can go. We should only be printing. But I mean, who knows if it worked, right? Like maybe the file is not even updated, right? Maybe it's actually just still has the old one. Now we have this problem where as soon as I plug it in, it boots up and crashes right away. Now it's already just crashing. But I mean, like, we're not setting anything on the label anymore. Okay, it has booted up and not crashed yet. Displays initialized but not showing anything except blank. Found the device. Printed idle state, but then not anything else, but that's fine. I'm just gonna leave that. Actually take that out. So when we call print array, I wonder if it's like something to do with passing array.array into functions. Maybe we shouldn't do that. Because at this point, the only thing it does is access stuff out of array, put it into outstring, and print outstring. And if I turn this back on, it's currently not hard fault. Press button, release button, press button, release button. So That crashed. Well, the only difference was creating the label. I just uncommented those. It's not even appended. So it's not even like, has nothing to do with updating the display. Because this is just create a label, change its position, but it's not in the group, so it's not going to get drawn. And none of the rest of the code touches it. I don't think we want this. Crashed. It's really not what I want to troubleshoot, but my brain cannot, like, just live with it, unfortunately. It's an affliction I have. Okay. Let's take the function out of the equation. The extent that any of this is like... Okay, this is not crashing, but it's printing over and over, and I don't think it should, right? Because buff gets read into. It would print the first time because none does not equal all this stuff. But then we should be updating previous state to buff, copy of buff. So then this should not trip anymore. This should be, buff should be equal to that. And we know it's equal to that because it's printing the same thing over and over again. I don't know if you can print those. Yeah, apparently you can. Okay, hold on. The only thing I changed was a print. Did I change anything besides a print? I didn't. The only thing I changed was a print. So, and now it's not printing over and over. There's the hard fault. I wonder if there's a period of time like like I don't think our code is waiting for this. So I think this returns instantly, and I think it happens in the background. Yeah, so see, it's taking 0.009, 0.008, 0.007. It's taking like no time almost. And I think maybe possibly like behind the scenes, maybe this is happening quote unquote in the background or whatever. And maybe there's some period of time like while this is happening and buff is being actively manipulated by whatever is doing that in the background to whatever extent it is actually in the background. And then if we are actually going on and accessing it, that's when we are getting hit, maybe? That's like a hypothesis. Let me go back and look at the example where this came from again. I mean, there's no additional time. There's no additional time thing going on here at all. Like, it just reads. And then this loop right here is effectively this loop right here. I've changed it around to be building a string because we were trying to go to the display and all that. This one's doing this thing, which we're not. But otherwise, this is all the same. It did do this. Okay, maybe let's change that. Mine's different. Well, no, it's not. I typed one earlier that was though, I swear, because I did like a byte string with 00. Guess ultimately gets us to the same place, I suppose. Okay, so let's print this. Let's add like a whole that much. Okay. So we're slower. We haven't crashed yet. I gotta go to the restroom again, sorry. BRB. Okay. I mean, also worth noting, last time it hard faulted when this was uncommented, but I didn't actually press any buttons, so theoretically shouldn't have printed anything, shouldn't have mattered. But yeah, whatever's going on here is weird enough where stuff that shouldn't matter is mattering, so probably just shouldn't bother mentioning stuff that shouldn't matter, since there's very clearly something wonky going on. So that didn't help at all. Hard faulted. Let's go a little bit slower, 5 times slower. See if that actually matters. I don't know. We'll see. Didn't crash. Maybe that's it. Now we're hammering away on it, and it does not seem to be having any issues. I'm not drawing anything on the screen right now. But it is printing. Everything seems to be working, even if I'm like both joysticks, multiple buttons all at once. Ah, okay. So when you have multiple buttons down, yeah, so this kind of gets at what you were talking about before, C. Grover, is there's actually masking. It's not just, so when I just press one button, like if I just press square, then the first number is 8, and then when I release, it goes back to 0. Oh, hard fault. Okay. Yeah. What I was getting at those, like you were saying before, if I press one button, so if I just press X, we get a 4 in the first digit. But if I just press circle, we get a 2 in the first digit. But if I press them both at the same time, we get a 6. They're added together. So triangle is 1, circle is 2. If you press them both, you get 3. Press all 4, you get 15. I guess is like 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 6 or whatever. 8? One of them's 8, not 6. Yeah. So those are basically bits, I guess. But basically down to just 10 minutes to all of this. I did comment out the output label getting created, and then we haven't crashed again since. I mean, so far, all of the crashing, I guess, is when we have a label. So let me quickly throw together something different and see if it makes any difference. I did not even get into game controller. Well, I started, I guess, a while ago, but obviously I didn't get anywhere near I really wanted to do. Let me try doing something else that updates the display. Let's see. Let's try to like pin it towards its specifically display text, which I kind of doubt, versus like it's generally speaking display stuff. I mean, what's weird though is like I created a label, but we never put it on a group. We never did anything with it. We weren't even setting these anymore. Like I don't get how that interacts with the rest of us crashing. But let's try to do something where we have an element on the display that's gonna actually be based on the buttons. What does this want? XY. The pixel shader. Palette. Green. Pixel shader P. XY. Radius. 50, 50, 4. Main group append the circle. All right, we have a green circle. Okay, so up button is third byte to 0. Right button is third byte to 2. Down button is to 4. Left button is to 6. 0, 2, 4, 6 in the third byte. I'm going to actually comment out all the printing and just say if buff 0, 1, 2 equals 0, the up button was pressed. I don't actually want this in here. We don't want to debounce anymore. We want to just keep it moving if it stays down. Circle dot, so they pressed up, circle dot y minus equals 1. Buff 2. So we had what? 0, 2, 4, 6. So right is 2. That's down. That's left. Okay. Very slow, but that's working. See how much of a delay was that? Okay, I mean that was a lot of our delay because we're much faster now. Hmm. Oh, okay, that's just the camera. Oh. That's not only just the camera, that's the camera's battery dying because somebody forgot to actually plug it in. So the camera's battery is dead, 0%, no more camera battery. Um, which might just probably, I think, make a pretty good place to stop for now. Ooh. Um, yeah. So thanks for hanging out, folks. I do appreciate everyone watching and everyone hanging out in the chat. Spent a little bit of time spinning the wheels, so to speak, on some weird stuff, but we kind of mapped out a couple of the buttons, kind of saw where I'm trying to head with it by getting it into game controller so that it can be used by games, and that way the games don't actually have to worry about the underlying hardware of what controller you're using. That'll be pretty sweet when we get there. My best guess is that there's something kind of going on between the USB host and the display I/O. The fact that so far, at least, not creating a label seems to hold off the hard fault is very bizarre. I still would be really surprised if there's like something that exists inside the label that makes this specifically hard fault and nothing else, but I don't know. I don't know what could really be going on, but anyway, we found some of it, we documented some of it. This, at least what I was showing here, at least proves that we can kind of get towards one of the things I wanted to do, which was the rainbow snake thing that I did on the Matrix. I'd like to do on a display next, which is where I was going to head with this controller. So maybe next week we will work on that. Until then, I will bid you farewell. I will say that I hope you have a good rest of your Saturday and a good weekend. I will see you next time. Take it easy, and thanks for watching.